Department of Federal Government chaos is in full effect right now. We got so many things going on in America that we will have to deal with one way or another. Black people in this country have a stake in this country, and we have to stand and do what we really need to do. There are so many people right now that are put in places that they don't deserve, making decisions with our tax dollars that we have no say so right now because they're in the position. So without further ado, I would like to bring us into a discussion about the chaos that's happening in our nation capital. This is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA, broadcasting the news from a Black perspective. We do not own the rights to the music that you may hear, but we do own the rights to what we say. And without further ado, I want to bring in my co-host and my friend, Mr. Claude Foster. Thank you, Mr. Claude. How are you doing?
How you doing, brother? This good Sunday afternoon. Look forward to our show today to talk about government and about our need to be involved in our government. It's chaos on the Capitol.
It is chaos.
It's chaos on the Capitol.
Yeah, there are so many people
headed by the chaos, the chaos chief in charge. Your boy.
The chief in charge, President Donald J. Trump. You know, if you don't know it, last night or last evening, they dropped 30,000-pound bombs on Iran, and they did 3 bombs. And the bombs are allegedly penetrating bombs that can go hundreds of feet into the ground. So the U.S. basically struck Iran, and that's something we have to deal with as a citizen in this country. And the problem is they have not evacuated the Americans in Iran nor in Israel. So
nor throughout the Middle East. I mean, there's 40 or 50,000 Americans over there.
And they have no plan to move those people out, but Iran is not playing. Iran is like 50 times larger than Israel. Now, here comes Israel, being who Israel is, starting doo-doo all over the country and all over their country. So Israel already been into it with Pakistan on the Gaza Strip. Now they want to throw some bombs at Iran and get some stuff started over there. And the moment they get the bomb started, they started begging for assistance from the US of A. So naturally, is the US of A telling them that, hey, go ahead and bomb Iran and then start acting like you need us to help you, and that'll give us our segue into a war with Iran.
Well, do you think Netanyahu played Trump?
It kind of feels like it. It's almost like you might have, let's say if we were all in Texas, right? And you had a concealed carry permit, and I was with you, and I knew you had that, and we went to a place to have some fun, and I'm picking fights. I'm talking trash to everybody, waiting on somebody to act bad with me. And the moment they act bad with me, I come over and get behind you and tell you that this is going on. Like you're supposed to take over something that I just started. You know, that's the playground issue. I mean, they're breaking it down to the simplest terms right now. And those terms create big problems. Now, we jumped into Afghanistan with the same scenario, and we ended up being over there 20 years. So now that even though it may have been trouble getting out of Afghanistan, but they shut it down. Now we're going right back into this same scenario. Well, our soldiers, huh? Don't forget what?
We shut it down, but a whole lot of brothers and sisters lost their lives over there.
Oh yeah, thousands lost lives, and more than 10,000, tens of thousands were injured. So there's a lot going on in America, and the big boy comes out and talks like, "Yeah, I kicked some boo boo over there in the Middle East, and there was no problem with what we did." They flew in there, dropped them, and flew out, and have no idea the results of what happened. But they claim absolute victory without a doubt, and that's where we have our issue. We don't know if it's absolute victory. If it was absolute victory, how does Iran immediately bomb Israel right off the bat? Soon as those bombs dropped, within hours, they were dropping bombs in Israel. So I don't want to sound like we don't know what the hell is going on in America, and we're where we're supposed to be either. But this is like off the chain.
But
We had chaos from day one.
But did you see the chairman of? I mean, did you see the Secretary of Defense and his arrogant bravado last night when he was today when he was speaking, like a kid in the playground, man?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy.
This
like
guy here is definitely somebody that we need to watch. I mean, and since we own him, let's go ahead and talk about Mr. Huspect, because that's been an issue that I'm kind of concerned with, because he had several things going that were not in his favor before he even got selected to be in this position. And like you were saying earlier, he's in charge of $1 trillion budget. That's a lot of daggone money for you to decide on what to do with when you had trouble managing a $300,000-$400,000 budget.
Well, he never managed a $300,000 to $400,000 budget. He managed some veterans group that had a really small budget. The thing that got him to where he is because he'll do anything that president tells him to do. He's not the advisor, the Secretary of Defense advising the president. He's the Secretary of Defense doing what the president tells him to do.
Yeah, he ain't really following his own direction. But what I'm saying is he ran up a budget or an expense account up to $400,000 with the Veterans for Freedom. And then he had to step down because he had no idea what had happened to that money. And then he did the same thing when he came over to the Veterans for America. He ran up a high expense account over there too. And they didn't have the money to pay for it. So he had to step down there too. So he goes from mismanaging two veteran organizations' budget to the WMC, whatever that's supposed to mean. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. Yeah. But he got a lot of stuff going against him. He's got public misconduct. He's got alcohol abuse, and he's got a sexual assault that he paid the woman off to shut up. What's the difference in him and having 34 felony charges? We got convicts running our country, and these guys think they can put on a suit and tie and be as beautiful as they want to be. And I don't believe I got on the same colors he got on, but I do. But anyway, these guys with these records are in positions, and they have shady characters, really shady characters. You cannot ignore 34 felonies. What do you think the world thinks when they see this? This is not just a USA issue. This is a world issue. This is a Canadian issue, a Mexican issue, a German issue, because all these other countries can see, especially what we see. And their comments are not on the same level as ours. They're on an international condemnation of what they view about what's happening here in US of A. It's hypocrisy. It's chaos. It's everything that you would think a country would not want to have in their country. And that's what we have. But you want to back it up a little bit? Let's go back to when Marco Rubio, when he first got in office. What did he do? The first thing Marco Rubio do is says we're going to roll back DEI in every federal agency there is. Now, he's a Cuban, but he wants to roll back DEI. And as if they're saying, these black people, we need to do other things to erase them a little bit more than what they are, because they are getting too powerful here in America. And I think that's what the issue is. Our people are standing their ground and making their own way without the government doing it for them. But we're using the government, using these DEI programs that were available and that got cut off, to include grants that pay for people college tuitions, grants that you can, the FIFA grant that you can apply for to go to college. All this stuff has been cut. It was put on hold. And even the ones that owe for grants, they were calling in the loans. There was no more deferment. You know, at one time you could defer your payment. As long as you was an active student, you could defer your payment for your degree. But now they're saying if you owe so much of money, you got to pay so much of money. And they tricked these kids into taking these loans, and now they're strapped with debt because now they can't pay $20 a month. They got to pay $299 a month or even more, depending on what you borrow. And you're not borrowing from the government. The government just basically said they will insure it, but they don't insure it anymore. So you borrowing from private industry, and private industry putting that on your credit report now, saying you better pay my money. That's what's happening. So the deferment part was from the government, and they don't do that anymore. They're targeting Harvard University. They're targeting all the people that trade, the foreign exchange, what they call it, foreign exchange students. They're targeting that, saying, don't bring no more Chinese over here. You cannot do it, Harvard University. And if you do, we're going to cut your money. So now they're in battle to get this organized. And this is all because of this man right here. He started that stuff. Well, he started it because he was told to start it. And why would they definitely just eliminate DEI altogether? DEI, in other words, is affirmative action. That's what we used to have. And it was only to balance the playing field. You white boys all over the country have always had the opportunity to be in these positions, and you've been doing it for over 200 years. And then here comes us, our black people, African Americans, or whatever you want to give us a name as. That's what you did, gave us those names. And then you want to say, you better hit the ground running. You know, we don't care that you were in slavery for all them years. You just hit the ground running. And that's what the problem is right now, because you're trying to say we got an equal opportunity just like you do. And that's a damn lie. You know, I'm sorry to be arrogant and as loud as I am about this, but I'm really disappointed that America is trying to hide what they did to us, to the descendants of the people held in captivity for over 200 years, and approaching 400 years.
Well, you know, my brother, it's complicated. It's a complicated history that got us to this point, okay? If I could just back it up a little bit.
Go right ahead.
Plessy versus Ferguson, right? You know who Plessy was.
Mm-hmm.
Plessy wanted to sit where everybody else sat on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, he was. I guess during that period he was privileged, he was educated, and God damn it, I want to I want to sit where you sit. So that case went all the way to the Supreme Court, right? And what does the Supreme Court say? Separate was equal, right? That's when the color signs went up, right? That's when you had to go through the back door of the restaurant, right? Now, not until 1954, did the court rule that separate was unequal only in the field of
Mhm.
education. So it was still okay for you to go in the back door. It was still okay for you to go into the upstairs portion of the theater, which is really the prime real estate of a theater. But it was
Mhm.
okay for separate but equal and everything else because that didn't do you no harm. The only
Mhm.
harm that was done was in the field of education. Think how
Mhm.
messed up that is. So we had to get out there and fight a wage of struggle for rights to be equal in this country. And we didn't get those rights, full voting rights, civil rights, housing rights to the 60s and 70s,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
because we had to go through the courts, and I just told you how quirky the court is, the court
Mhm.
can say only in the field of education is segregation wrong. So that's how messed up the law is. So
Mhm.
what happens after we got all those rights?
Mhm.
All the other groups wanted their rights.
Yeah, we led the way in every category.
But what I'm saying, everybody else took it to the next level. At some point, the powers be get tired of that shit, and they're gonna push back. And we're at that pushback stage right now because
Mhm.
we have taken civil rights to a space where it was never intended to go.
Mhm. Mhm. And the thing is, every single motion that has been made by our government to DEI the playing field has been led by us. We've initiated everything. Brown versus Board of Education, Plessy versus Ferguson.
But why?
You know,
But why? Why did we need DEI when we had the laws already on the books, the '64 Civil Rights Act?
because of
They're not black. They're not black rights. They're civil rights. So why
Mhm.
do we need to keep expanding rights?
Mhm. Because there's so many barriers placed in front of anybody that is not white. That's what it is. If you're non-white, and it started way before this, but in 1924, Walter Plecker laid it out on the paper and told you where you fit in. He told you that you were a colored man, and a colored man is a second class citizen underneath the white man. He was working for, I believe, the Department of Interior or something. Either way, he came out with the act that
Right.
well, I forget what they call the act, but he initiated the act and stopped everybody from using American Indian, Chickasha, Choctaw, Moors. You are nothing but a colored person if you're not white. That's what he did. And it stuck for 50, 75 years before
But
they turned that over. Huh?
but it's just like the Secretary of Defense. Some of his actions, doing away with DEI in the military, changing
Mm.
all the bases back to Confederate generals' name. Restoring
But
what
no reason.
what do they call that when you do stuff like that? Uh,
They
but he's
call
doing it.
it racism.
But he's doing it.
Of course, he's doing it because he has the funding and he has the support of his president. So
Right.
that makes it okay for you to step on other people's pride and other people's progress. And that's exactly what's happening. When you're trying to make this country an equal playing field for the rest of the country, other than the white people, then you're going to implement the things of whiteness that you had in place before it was starting to be removed. Like
But
all the Confederate statues they're taking down, they're trying to put them back too.
no, they're putting them back.
You were saying something.
If they're on federal, if they're on federal real estate, they're putting them back up. It's like this. You know, I guess what I'm saying is, it's just like this whole immigrant question, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these immigrants are here because America went around the world and disrupted countries from Haiti. All these people are here because
Country you can think of.
almost every country you can think of, America went there and disrupted the government to steal the resources. So the people fled here.
Yeah.
And they've been here for years.
You're saying America, but say what it really is. I mean, you can't avoid the truth, and it's
Well,
the
well,
white. I mean,
well,
I don't mean to
well,
sit here and
it's
white
the
men.
it's the European. I mean,
They're European. All right, we'll go with that.
it's European.
The British, the European, all those people from that area went around the world and corrupted other societies for their resources.
And that's why you got all those people of color in London. That's why you got them in America. They're not
Mhm.
immigrants. These are people that fled what these powers screwed up in their countries.
And when they go
Disrupted
in and get it, they get it.
yeah.
They take it.
And so,
They don't stop for nothing.
but do
They
you
will.
think? But do you
Come on.
think the African American community understands that history? Because we're not out there with our brothers and sisters.
Understand what level of history you mean.
The history of America's imperialism around the world, and that's why you have a lot of Haitian immigrants in this country and others that fled the disruption that they caused in their countries, and they came to this country for a better quality of life.
They came here because they see the prosperity that this country has generated for
the stability,
and that's what and they've done it through power and domination. They didn't do it through negotiation.
right.
They did what they've done here through power and domination. They have dominated every single culture and society that they have encountered. And that has been the way of the world. And this is the result of the world's domination, the US of A. That's where we at. And then this is what's catching here. I want to go back to this federal government chaos. If you the birthright thing,
Mm-hmm.
the executive order that's out there on birthright right now says that if you're an illegal immigrant and you came to America and if your child was born here, that makes that child a citizen. But they said in the executive order, it said if you come to America 30 days after we implement this executive order and you have a child, then your child is not a U.S. citizen anymore.
That's not what the Constitution says. That's not what the 14th Amendment says.
No, it doesn't. But that's what that executive order says.
Well,
it says,
and that's why the Supreme Court going to interpret that. That's going to make its way to the Supreme Court, and hopefully they are.
It's already there. The Supreme Court's Donald Trump is fighting right now with the Supreme Court to leave this executive order alone. And as of right now, it's left alone because they have a final ruling on it.
You don't have to be a Supreme Court member to go and read the 14th Amendment and know that don't pass muster.
And see, you want to talk about the 14th. Let me help you with that a little bit. I got something different on the 14th than you may have. So you let me know what you got too.
Okay.
The 14th Amendment was ratified by 21 or 27 states. And at the time, there was 37 states that had become states that made the United States. So in order for them to become ratified, the 14th Amendment, there was a need for, I believe, either 27 to ratify, 27 out of 37 to ratify the amendment. And the 14th Amendment never got ratified, but it got added as ratified because of the 21 states. So
but let me clarify something what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just add to the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
The 13th, 14th Amendment, and 15th Amendment were Civil War amendments. The states, in order to be readmitted back to the Union, had to ratify those amendments.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was like we held the gun to the states and said, "You better ratify this."
Mm-hmm. Well, they weren't. Those 11 states wasn't part of the USA when they ratified the 14th.
No, they had to ratify to be admitted back to the Union because they had seceded from the Union.
Yeah, they had. The only way they could get back into the Union was to take the oath of in order to be admitted back to the Union. That was the only requirement. That was the only requirement for those 11 states to come back into the Union. if they took the oath of amnesty, they could be reinstated. Johnson came after Lincoln had got assassinated and said that you all are now, when y'all took that oath, we're going to reappoint you back to the governmental positions in those 11 states. So
But
the Confederate officers that took the oath of amnesty came right back into power in those 11 states that succeeded from the United States. And they started just right where they left off as dominating warmonger against black people.
But they had to ratify the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment as a condition for reentry.
All right, I haven't seen that part. No, I didn't see that they were part of the 13th, 14th, and 15th. I can only tell you what I found on the 14th, and that was the first part was that it was not technically ratified by all the states, which those 11 states, that's what I'm talking about. And then the second part was that the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment is in direct opposition of the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment says that the U.S. will pay any debt that it owes to anybody, particularly to the slave owners that, what they call liberated slaves. And then
they did reimburse them for that. They did pay them for their property.
They didn't pay them, but they didn't pay them all. They didn't pay them all. They paid some, but they did not pay. They paid probably, I think it was 29 plantations because you had to file, you know how the government is. You ain't gonna just get that money. You got to file this claim and all that bull crap. But only 29 plantations or something did it out of 400 plantations.
Well, I mean, I get you, but what I'm saying, what's the point? I mean, they promised every slave 40 acres and a mule. Only some got some.
They denied that.
Everybody didn't get it, but there was a few that got it.
That was denied under Johnson that came after Lincoln.
But I'm saying some got it. That's my only point, is the fact that since everybody wouldn't pay for their property, I mean, so what? You know,
that's right.
You know, so what? You know, everybody didn't get 40 acres and a mule. You know,
even some of the ones that got it taken back.
Yeah, through courts and through all kind of shenanigans and you name it.
They didn't even use courts back then. All they did was say, well, this man is stepping on my property, and a white man could claim that this is his property, and the court would rule in his favor. And if that black man stepped over onto his own property, which the white man done claimed, he can be killed for trespassing, and they would do nothing about it. It took a long time before they started prosecuting white people for killing black people. There was a casual killing act or something like that. If you beat a slave or beat a black person down, and he died or she died, then there was nothing the court would do because they were in compliance with the Casual Killing Act. Right. And that's pretty sad, where you got an authorization to kill another human being, and that whole pretense of what we fought for is for you to recognize that we are not a thing. We are not property. We are human beings just like everybody else. And that's where the problem lies. But one thing I didn't say a few minutes ago about the 14th, it's a contradiction of the Fifth Amendment. See, in the 14th, they tell you we're not going to pay you a damn thing as a federal government, and we're going to sue you if you try to take it, if you try to ask for it. Right. In the Fifth Amendment, it tells you that the federal government will never take anything from you without just compensation. And so if the Fifth Amendment is telling you that we ain't going to take nothing from you as a government, and then the 14th Amendment telling you we ain't going to pay you nothing for what you've given us, especially for the slaves that you released, even after we said we were going to pay you, it's ambiguous and contradiction.
Well, you can argue about what is just compensation. Was reimbursing someone for slaves, was that just compensation? I mean, you could argue that.
No.
You could argue that today. What is just compensation? If
It-
if
it-
if
it's a
if
big-
I if I if I if I kill your if I kill your horse and I give you $50, is that just compensation?
no. Look at how they do it in Europe. Do you remember the tree thing when the United States Army knocked over a whole bunch of trees somewhere over in Germany, and they had to pay the country for the amount of trees that tree may have produced over the course of X amount of years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was such a who can determine that thing, and
Right.
they determined it, and the U.S. government had to pay Germany for trees, a bunch of
Right.
trees. And that was a weird situation. It ain't no different than paying us just compensation. Ain't no such thing. Because if we can't determine how much to pay for reparations, how are we going to determine? I mean, even if trying to determine how much to pay for reparations is going to be a chore and a fight to the finish, because nobody can say $50,000 is enough and nobody can say $500,000 is enough, because it's different for everybody. But the torture and the pain that our ancestors suffered is the same. Every slave suffered equally. They all suffered, not one, even the house ones. They were just as vulnerable as the field ones. So everybody that's a descendant of those slaves, you can't go back and draw a scenario of exactly what happened to them, but you can say they were a slave on this plantation. And if you can prove that, then that qualifies you for reparations, whatever that reparation may be.
Right.
And hopefully it's more than just money. That's a crazy situation, though. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I was just gonna mention that your Maryland black governor refused to sign the bill, reparations bill in Maryland.
I wonder, did he say why he refused to do that?
I think he said because Maryland had all this diversity and they had already addressed the issue and basically kind of just went around the rose bushes with his explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would the legislature pass a bill if it wasn't a merit-based bill?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was more than just one person. I'm sure it took more than one or two people to pass legislation,
Mm-hmm.
but he voted against it. He refused to sign it.
Yeah, I don't know why he would do it, but it seemed like somebody got to start doing this research. And I don't see the better organization equipped to do that other than the NAACP. That would be a worthwhile committee, in my opinion, for somebody that's got some recognition to do a reparation study and come up with some solutions. I mean, if the NAACP won't do it, then we doomed, because ain't nobody else got the credentials of the NAACP right now. And not to say that they represent all black people, but right now they represent the NAACP, and we will hope that somebody would decide that this needs to take place. We've been bouncing this damn tennis ball all the way around the country for years, and nobody seems to want to put the rubber to the road and finish this damn study and get this study in the forefront of America. That's what the problem is, in my opinion. Even though we don't know what monies or what lands or what subsidies will come with it, somebody got to conduct the study, and it's got to be official. And until that happens, we doomed. We ain't gonna get shit. We ain't gonna never get it. And they don't want nobody to do it.
On another issue, just get your thoughts for the listeners. What did you think of ex-President Biden coming to Galveston to celebrate Juneteenth?
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't even look at it. I don't see his significance in anything right now. Only thing I can see him doing is just making an appearance and taking his old ass home. That's
Well,
it.
what about Trump saying that we got too many non-paying holidays, too many paid holidays?
Look at when he said it. I bet he don't say that on the 4th of July.
No, he said that on Juneteenth.
I know, I saw it. That's why I say I bet he ain't gonna say it for the 4th. he said that for Juneteenth, which is the most racist bigotry presentation you can present. You just couldn't keep your ass quiet another 4 or 5 hours until it was the 20th and then go about your business. You had to say something that was negative and condescending to black people. You had to.
I feel bad for I feel bad for our black brothers and sisters in arms. You know, they put out a memo saying the military couldn't celebrate it at all.
Really?
Really?
Ain't that? Well, you know, they got absolute control over the military. They can put them anywhere they want. They can make them do whatever they want anytime they want, and the military has to do it. So for the government,
but you know, Muhammad Ali didn't do it.
mm-hmm.
Muhammad Ali
explain what you're talking about.
Well, you know, remember he refused to serve in Vietnam.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he said, "I'd rather go to jail."
Mm-hmm.
So you think we got people like that today?
If these people, the only people that are capable of doing what Muhammad Ali did are people with the background and resources like Muhammad Ali.
Well, he didn't have the background and resources then. I mean, he was a young guy.
Yeah, he had money though, and he was a champion. Ain't nobody gonna just come out of the blue and say, "I refuse to serve" and not get punished severely right away. Right. I mean, they will take away everything from that person. That they will not get that person will have a dishonorable discharge without even serving in the military. he'll tear that new ass on somebody. I'm just sad to think about it like that, man. But if you got a lot of money, look at what they did doing to Diddy. And you know, I'm not saying Diddy is innocent. All I'm saying is that is a premier case of a black man with lots of money who's overstepped his limitations. You know, it's so much dirt going on with these millionaires right now, and only the ones who kiss the right boo boop took are the ones who succeed, who survive. But the ones who go against the grain, they're gonna go after you, and they can eat you up in lawyer fees. If you ain't got enough money to pay 10 years of lawyer fees, then you better not go up against the big boys. Because P. Diddy wanted his title to Ciroc. I mean, he should have had his title to Ciroc as much as he sold, as much Ciroc as he sold, you know. But when he went after the company to get it, all hell broke loose on him. He didn't just start doing this. He's been doing this for years. And if the people that know he was doing what he was doing did not come forward and report him, what does that make them? An accessory. T.D. Jakes knew he's an accessory. So why is he sitting his ass at home and they got P. Diddy in court? You know,
what's the deal with his counterpart down there in Atlanta, the guy that's over the movie studio?
Tyler Perry?
Yeah, just got accused of sexual harassment or something.
Yeah, one of his actors on the Oval Office or something like that. Yeah. One of the Caucasian fellas. I mean, just like Tyler Perry, he's the biggest black mogul that makes movies, and maybe he made a movie that pissed somebody off, and they made a phone call, and now he's where he's at, and they're gonna sacrifice that white boy to get Tyler Perry under control. And the same thing, in a black man that can get up to that level and avoid somebody trying to bring him down. And that's what's happened to all. I don't know one actor or one musician, one Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, all the other ones, and some of them get locked down, like R. Kelly. But you know, they've done dirty things. Every one of them have done dirty things, and not only the black ones, the white ones too. They've done dirty things, but most of the white ones that have done dirty things get overlooked. Most, like right now, you see P. Diddy on TV every damn day, but you don't see is Hutspec with all of his shenanigans going on being portrayed on the national news. Nobody's saying anything about that. You know, you can find so many disparities in what's happening in America today
Right.
that it'll make your head pop or my head pop. I'm just saying, black people have to be cognizant of the attacks on who we are and how much progress we make. Why do you think they're attacking the DEI program with such vigorous attention? Everybody focused on DEI and cut it across the country. Look at University of Austin. Shut down 50 black people that worked in the DEI office in Austin, Texas, had to walk out and they shut their entire damn office down. Look at who else? McDonald's. Look at Target that promised to do a whole lot of work for George Floyd, and then when the DEI thing come up, they said we ain't doing shit.
Well,
They
what do you
cut.
think? What do you think about the National Baptist Convention taking that $300,000?
That's $9.56 a church.
What's your thoughts on that?
That's a damn shame. How can an entire organization go against Pastor Jamal at the same time when he's fighting against Target because they reneged on the contract for George Floyd, and then the Baptist convention take a mere $300,000? Man, you might as well go hit somebody up for a plate, pass the plate, because that's all you did. You got to be the stupidest clown.
I saw the president. They getting ready to have their convention, I guess, in Kansas City.
They're doing what?
They're getting ready to have their National Baptist Convention in Kansas City.
That's a damn shame, though. I'm really disappointed in the Baptist convention.
I'm disappointed because it shows our disunity. It shows the level of disunity that we have.
Yeah, it exists in our culture, and they taking advantage of it all along. You know,
you can't tell me that the National Baptist Convention president couldn't have picked up the phone and called Jamal Bryant prior to negotiating or even considering that deal.
They didn't do it all. They didn't do anything. They also wanted to mention that there are too many agencies that's wiping out the entire departments right away. How can you shut down DEI in the entire government in a day, which they did? Now, if you got a problem, let's say you got discriminated against and you're a federal employee, who do you go to? They're getting ready to get rid of EEOC now.
Mm-hmm.
The Office of
Employment Opportunity Commission.
Yeah, it's gone. They telling you right now, don't go there because it ain't gonna do a damn thing for you. They're telling you that don't go to your union because unions are next, because the first thing you do is you usually go to your steward and let them know that this is a problem I'm having, and they can't do shit for you because there's nobody for them to go to. So right now, everything that advocates for the equal playing,
and they've already did away with the Civil Rights Division over the Justice Department.
It's gone. So they're saying that no matter what you had to go through in slavery or coming out of slavery, even though we were 257 years in front of you as free men in this country, you better pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And that's the bottom line. So what is the ticket for us to get to a level playing field? There's only one way, Claude. One way. And I'm going to tell you what that way is, my friend, is to take over the political positions that we've allowed them to stay in for so damn long that their asses are glued to the damn seat.
Okay, we need to take them. Which position?
You have to look at Congress. You got 90-year-old men sitting in Congress, right, in the Senate right now, that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They need to go. I'm gonna quit cussing too, because I ain't, so that's a good thing. So you got all these people sitting in there that don't do a damn thing, but sit there. Every time you see that picture, right, you see all these white faces, and you see that nothing, they've never done anything. They just sit there, and it ain't their fault. It's not their fault. It's the people that go in and vote to keep them in those seats They get voted at least every 4 years. Somebody can get voted out. But if we are not engaged in the political system, if we don't use the tools that this system set up for us to use, we are not going to overturn the system. We got to use their rules to win. And their rules require us to be qualified to vote. That's why they put so many black people in jail. So they don't have the right to vote when they come out unless they pursue the expungement and get the right. But right now, our biggest problem is we avoid politics because that's what's sticking us up the yang. That's what's making us who we are now. Nobody. Politics. And if we're not engaged in politics, and I know you're going to say, well, we got 67 black congressmen or some shit like that. But the bottom line is we need 467 in all the local offices and all the state offices and all the federal offices. We need 1,000. And if we get to that number, maybe we can make a difference in the bull crap that's going on in Washington, D.C. Right now, we can't make no damn difference because we ain't got no representation. We ain't even got representation in our culture. Nobody. Who can name me somebody that can represent our culture? All right. Name me somebody that can represent Chinese culture. Huh? Name me somebody that can represent North Korean culture or South Korean culture or Japanese culture. They all got an individual that represent them, and we can't come and say, bring somebody who can represent our culture. Oh yeah, Donald Trump represent me. No, the hell he don't.
Well, now we have members of Congress that are pretty aggressive. It's just, hey, look, one member of Congress, all they got is their voice. And through their actions, they can motivate others to elevate their voice. Let me read this to you. Let me read this quote to you. It's short, and it kind of piggybacks off what you said. This was by Franklin Roosevelt wrote this. You know how long ago that was? Back in 1944. Every man and every woman in the nation, regardless of party, who have the right to vote, to register and to vote, and the opportunity, because that's what we've been fighting for, and the opportunity to register and to vote, have also the sacred obligation to register and to vote. For the free and secret ballot is the real keystone of our American constitutional system that they set up. And we don't do that. Look at the turnout in our communities. And we try to say, okay, it's because a person's poor, they don't vote. We got to stop making these excuses, man. Because the system ain't gonna change. It's like I keep talking about a black state. I don't think that ever happened because we don't vote. Even if we got the state, somebody else will be running it.
Yep.
Even if we was the majority somewhere, somebody else would be running because we wouldn't vote. So we got to get real. We got to stop making excuses. Our forefathers didn't make excuses. They didn't say, well, I'm a slave, so I'm not going out in that field and hold no cotton. They went because they had to. We got to stop making excuses. We got to stop making excuses. We got to stop making excuses. We got to stop making excuses and just do it.
We got to get.
And we got an election coming up in 2026. We can change that Congress. We can put more people in power that think like you and I think.
And what's the population of our culture in this country?
We're about 40 million or so.
40-some million people, right?
But at one point in this country, black folks were the majority in this country. The years, right?
Time ago.
It was a long time ago.
They had more slaves than they could take a damn handle and shit. It was more of us.
It was more of us. but what did that this structure was put in place when we were the majority
Yeah.
because we had
They
no
were
rights.
figuring out how to control.
But we had no rights. We couldn't vote. We couldn't do. We got all that now.
Hmm. And we're misusing it,
No, we don't use it.
not using it. And it's costing us dearly.
We don't.
It's
We don't.
costing us
We don't
the
hold the elected officials.
entire, everything that ever got put into place, Claude, has been dismantled. Everything put into place for our benefit. You know, even though it was for our benefit, other cultures benefited from it. But it's been dismantled. So now we gotta get through these 4 years, and now we gotta put the right people back in place, and then we gotta reinstate it, go through the whole process to put it back in place. But it's gonna take 10 years for us to catch back up to the position we were in before they started to dismantle it. So it ain't nobody's fault. I can't blame the white man. It ain't the
No.
white man's fault. It's our apathetic approach to being a part of this system, even though it ain't our system. It ain't designed for us, period. But that's the ticket, though, because it ain't designed for us. We should be able to use it just like they do. And if we use it just like they do, they get really mad at us because we're smarter in their system than they are. And that's where we're losing, because we're staying dumber than they are in their own systems. We got to get smart.
Well,
We
I think
got to
that
get
no, we got some smart people out there. Our people just don't get the recognition. They're not publicized. They're not promoted. They're not. The
Mm.
system keeps them in. Keeps them, and
Who
especially if they say something controversial. I mean, they completely get shut down.
you
But
mentioned? Who's that agriculture guy you mentioned? Sorry to interrupt you.
the agricultural guy, I forget his name, but that's a big. That's a department that we don't pay any attention to.
Mm.
But the agriculture department funds child nutrition programs. The agriculture department funds historically land grant black colleges, which have been underfunded ever since they've been in this country, put in this country. So their HUD, Housing and Urban Development, gonna have a major impact on
Is it
our
Brooke?
community.
Is it Brooke Rollins?
No, let me tell you who it is. Let me
The current federal secretary of agriculture is Brooke Rollins. She was sworn in as the 33rd U.S. Secretary of Agriculture on February
okay.
13, 2025.
Yeah. Who is she?
She originally from Glen Rose, Texas. Prior to
Where?
becoming secretary, she served as the founder, president, and chief CEO of the America First Policy Institute. So what does that mean? America First Policy Institute. She's you already know.
Don't sound like she know that much about agriculture.
She don't know jack bone about it. She also served as the director of the Office of American Innovation and Assistance to the President for Strategic Initiatives from 2018 to 2020. All that don't even mean that jack bone. She don't know that.
Wow.
She's another presidential Trump crony. That's what
Yep.
she is.
Yep.
Whatever he say, she's going to do. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty sad that all these guys that he's in
Well,
ladies.
now you know what Trump was doing down in Mar-a-Lago prior to him winning the campaign. These are
What?
the people that he was meeting with. These are the kind of people that he was meeting with.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, she's I mean, like you said, if you go to a HBCU, you're going to see that there's nothing around it. That it's in an isolated city, isolated place, and you like I went to Langston University.
And no economic development, no real development around it.
No development at all.
No good hospitals, no major nothing.
Check this out. She cut millions. They had DEI in farming too, but she cut millions of dollars from the DEI program for farming, which means the farmers can't get the black farmers can't get no money. And it was $148 million she cut.
Mm-hmm.
She took it out, took it away from the black farmers. That means, um, she terminated. This is some of the programs she terminated, right? She educating and engaging socially disadvantaged farmers on conservation practices. She took almost $600,000 from that program. They're educating and engaging socially disadvantaged farmers, black farmers.
Yeah.
Don't say it. Took $600,000 from them. She created new models of urban forestry to lead to environmental justice through more equitable distributed green space. She took $192,000 from there. She took $2.5 million from expanding the equitable access to land capital. She took that money out of the system so black farmers could not have access to it. That's what she did. And that is painful. Black farmers are already suffering. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, black farmers probably had 100 million acres of farmland. Today, black farmers are functioning on less than 100,000 acres. That's not a lot of land. That's a whole lot of land that's been taken from black farmers. So I don't know that much about black farmers, but I do know that they've been screwed every step of the way, because if you got to lose 800,000 acres over the course of 25 years, something's wrong with that picture.
Oh man, hey, look here, man. The budget pen and all those departments. Well, who do you think are most going to be hurt by all these cuts?
By DEI cuts.
Well, not just DEI. There are cuts that DEI had more to do with hiring, but these people were managing programs that benefited people of color in this country, black people, making sure that appropriate fund, that everybody got their fair share of agriculture dollars, making sure that HBCUs got their land grant, HBCUs got their fair share of money. I mean, so the knife runs deep. And that knife is slicing and cutting up people that look like you and me.
It's not going to change right now because we don't have the representation. And I'd say it, and I'll say it, and I'll say it 10 more times until we can get involved into politics. For one, we got it. And the only thing it takes is a simple ass vote. That's it. Black men, black women, black children, 18 years and older, vote, please vote.
But it's more,
I can't you strong enough to go out and vote.
But it's more to being a citizen. Voting is number one. But we got to participate. We got to go to meetings. We got to learn. We got to go to meetings. We got to attend hearings. We can't be on the sideline and expect elected officials to always do the right thing. They have to always be held accountable. And we got to. But our people are out there working, man. When they get off work, they're grabbing a 6-pack. They ain't grabbing a meeting flyer.
They ain't going to no damn city hall meeting.
They're not going to city hall. They're not going to the state house. They're not going to the. Let me get your thoughts. I know it's getting close to 4:30. What do you think about the shootings in Minnesota?
I think that people are.
That's the first question, and then my second question is, how is it that white people that commit murder always can be caught alive?
That's a damn good question. Well, the first answer would be people are making decisions right now that are trying to, the people that are trying to fix the problems that we have as a society, as in America, they're becoming targets. If you're in a position where you are trying to make things right and trying to do right by the people that you represent, then you are putting yourself into a position to be a target for somebody. So you have to be very careful. Look at Miss Crockett. She's in a position where,
Very much, yeah, very concerned about her. Yeah.
yeah, she needs bodyguards because her comments towards what these people are doing in Washington is the truth. And nobody wants the truth. They want to keep covering up this lie, and they want to dare you to speak about it. Speak that and say it's a lie. And if you say it's a lie, then everybody and their mama coming after you. I watched a movie last night, right? Where this man was the father of his daughter, and he groomed her coming up to kill the princess. So they all go into this meeting with all the people in their white robes, all the Christian people, and him who was inspired to be king. And here comes the official king and his wife and his daughter, the heir to the throne. They all came into this room, and fortunately, this man's daughter that wanted to kill the king was the princess's bodyguard. So the all the priests, they circle around the king and the queen, and they kill the king and the queen. And then after that, he kept saying to his daughter, "Get unalive her, get her." And he kept saying it to her, and she finally pulled the trigger. But the girl didn't die; they thought she was dead. And
Oh,
and
I just caught what unalive means. Shoot, yeah, kill, shoot
yeah, yeah. Then his dad, her dad, the one who did the shooting, told, "Oh, you just killed the queen, the heir to the throne. You are guilty." He started pointing the finger at his daughter when all these priests and him had just did all of this, and now they've made her the scapegoat. His daughter, he made her the scapegoat. So basically, what I'm saying, they do all this stuff, and then they start pointing the finger at somebody, and they all jump on that somebody, no matter whether they're guilty or not. So this is nothing different than the character of many of these people that serve us in these qualified positions, but they are not qualified to be in these positions. So if you put a person in these positions that can't execute the responsibility, then the people that under that person are the ones who really suffer because they're trying to maintain a certain quality of job. That's what they're trying to do. But they're just as nonchalant as the person in charge. They're not going to try to train that person. They're not going to try to educate him on anything that's going to make him look good in that position because he's not qualified. So right now, Huspec is in that position all by himself. And the only thing keeping him afloat is the president because the crew that he served, that he represents, don't give a damn about him. Just like the rest of them that he's appointed there. They got people working for them that could care less about the people that run those departments. And they want them out, but they can't say nothing because they'll lose their job just that damn fast. And that's the problem. They'll fire people. They are firing people so damn fast it ain't even funny and daring you to sue because the way it works in the federal government now, if you're an employee of the federal government and you decide to sue somebody in the agency that you work for, then you once you put in that lawsuit, you no longer got the lawsuit against the person you working for. Your lawsuit is against that agency now. That person that upset you or disrespected you or did whatever is no longer in the picture unless the case itself calls them back for deposition or something. So right now you're fighting against $1 trillion agency and you just a little old $200,000 man. You know, you got no chance of winning. That's the problem. So you're fighting such a big giant in this government that it doesn't make much sense to me.
So
It,
what should we be? I'm sitting here listening, and we've talked the whole show about this cabinet. What
mm-hmm,
should we be doing? How should we? The cabinet is responsive to the president, so
mm-hmm.
you
The only
can't call the HUD director, you can't call the agriculture director and say don't cut this program.
mm,
They're not listening to the citizens
no, they're not.
because the
The only
citizens they're not
voice.
elected. I mean,
You only got you
they've been cutting budgets like you cut a birthday cake.
they slicing that stuff up, ain't they?
And
You
big
only got
time.
one choice, really, man, and that's to, like you were saying, and I, is to participate. If we don't participate, expect what you get. You're gonna get what you're gonna get. And right now, this is the result of getting what we're gonna get because of our lack of participation.
Well,
You know,
I'm shocked. I'm shocked at the silence of the Congressional Black Caucus right now.
who is
I
that
mean,
in? Where are they?
it's 67 of them.
Where are they?
I mean, have you seen 67 of them at a press conference? Have you seen them as a
These
group?
they just as work. They just as bad as the NAACP, man. And I don't care if the NAACP hear me bashing them because they ain't doing shit. Just like the Black Caucus ain't doing shit. Any group you can name right now, you can put them all in that same pot because ain't none of them doing shit because they ain't making a damn difference in nothing.
Well, I
What
mean,
difference do they make?
The NAACP disinvited the president, so they're not inviting the president in their hundreds. It's the first president in their 116-year history that they didn't invite the president of the United States to the national convention.
You know, they
Now, I
did
don't.
him a favor. He
Yeah,
did
because
not
look,
want to go. He turned down the invitation. I bet you.
well, he went to the
I
NBJ, the National Black Journalists, and you see how he made a fool of himself
yeah,
there.
because it was women.
Well, that was a
It
guy
was
there, the one with the fro. That was a couple of guys there, but he
because
still
that's
made
where
it.
he talked
He
about
cut up.
Kamala Harris, whether she
He,
was black or Indian or what. That's stupid.
he
It's just dumb
and caught.
stuff. Why would you invite somebody to something that you already know they don't want to be there? And so the writing on the wall is obvious, my people. It is so obvious that, and if you're ignoring it, then something's wrong. But know this: over 2 million black folks voted for Donald Trump. And now they ought to be seeing the truth of the picture right now, how he care about you and your vote. You just lost your vote. If you'd have put your vote in the right place, we might not be where we are. But that's neither here and there. All I'm saying is if you vote, vote. But I'm going to tell you this too. Don't stop voting Republican. Stop voting Democrat. You've been screwed every step of the way. Vote independent from now on. No Democrat, no Republican, vote independent. Because the moment you align yourself with a Democrat, you become what the Democrats are, and that's losers. Because the Republicans are kicking their ass every step of the way. So leave both of those parties alone and be an independent.
Well, I would just tell people. I mean, I do agree. People need to vote, and I think you can vote independently. I mean, we got a two-party system. You can vote for president. You don't have to be a dem. You don't have to be. Only Republicans are not voting for the president. I mean, you can be a Democrat and vote for the president. So there are elections where party affiliation really don't
Don't
stop
matter.
you from being an independent.
Right.
So you don't have to leave the party to be an independent.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have a. I think when people refer to being on the plantation and stuff like that, I think people have gotten lazy, and so we don't hold people accountable.
Right.
And so, and I think that's what they mean by being on the plantation, because you can be an independent and still be a Democrat, because city council is nonpartisan, county elections are pretty much they're partisan, but
Yeah.
but there are a lot of elections that that in the general election you can vote for whoever you want to vote for.
Mm-hmm.
Black. I mean, so I think we got to think independent. I think we got to understand the issues better, and I think we got to hold people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And like I
Yeah.
said, man, we got 67. We're getting ready to have the Congressional Black Caucus, annual legislative Black Caucus in Washington D.C., where you got to be damn near rich to attend, because the hotel room and the travel gonna set you back. I mean, you got to be in a certain position to go. So I mean, why don't the CBC, since they're the Congressional Black Caucus, why don't they have their foundation around the country? Washington D.C. is a good place to have it because
Mm,
that's where the power of government is. But you know, when you're out of power, why not have the conference in other locations? Give more people the opportunity to attend, so they don't have to come to expensive ass Washington D.C. I mean, it's a lot cheaper in Houston, Texas, than it is in Washington D.C. It's a lot cheaper in uh, Jackson, Mississippi, than it is in Washington D.C. You'd get more people there, and maybe you get a greater response instead of it just being a big social event. Now they do publish the stuff. They put it's on social media. It's on Facebook. But this is after the fact,
mhm.
and then they broadcast it live, so people can attend it via some type of airway. But it ain't nothing like being there. You know,
Mhm.
it's like reading Facebook and then reading a newspaper and actually having the paper in your hand where you can adjust your eyes and do all kinds of stuff. I mean, you
Mhm.
just feel more aligned to the issue when you got some paper in your hand. I'm still that way, you know.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of work to do. That uh, we ain't seen the worst of this administration yet. We're just beginning. I mean, the next 2 years gonna be horrible. They're slicing and dicing the budget as we speak.
Mhm.
How can HUD, a black man over HUD, that was in the legislature just a few months ago, slice HUD budget by over 58%? All these are programs that help people that look like us, me and you and your listeners and our listeners. 58% of HUD's budget. And his claim is, well, if we keep spending money, we're going to wind up with the same results we got now, which we're not, the results aren't good. So money's not the answer. So they're going to take away the money because money's not the answer. Now, who believe that? But that's what a bureaucrat told Congress. That we spending all this money and more money or keeping the money at the same level is not good because it's not making a difference. So this boat ride ain't over, bro.
No, it ain't. We got a long way to row. Um, Claude, I could take that as your final comments, but I'll
My
give you
final,
the
yeah,
opportunity to let me
that's my
know.
final. People
Huh?
get ready. People get ready. This roller coaster is just now started. We ain't seen nothing yet.
It's just not pulling out, right?
I mean, you can't even go nowhere now
No, you can't.
without being. I mean, the world. Where you gonna go?
Yeah.
Look at all the people that wanted to go to the Middle East. Wanted to go to. My sister just came back from what's the places with all the oil and the rich folks.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, where you gonna go now? You can't even travel. Plane
Yeah.
might be shot down.
Yeah. As a U.S. citizen, it's dangerous.
Anything with a U.S. carrier. I mean, the airlines are beefing up their security.
And then the best plane they got on the market got the biggest problems with the engines.
You think Iran wouldn't have no problem shooting down an American aircraft flying with 200 and some people on it? 300, 400 people?
Hmm.
I mean, there are consequences to what that president just and that secretary of defense just did, man. And then he gonna get on there and brag like some little thug on the street. This shit can have some real consequences, man, for us.
Yeah, that's right.
Iran ain't gonna take this shit lying down. They may not have no nuclear weapons, but they got missiles.
Yep.
I mean, the next day they was bombing Israel. So people get ready because that train is coming.
All right. I want to say thank you to our co-host, Mr. Claude Foster, for his input today. He really laid it out, and we're going to get ready for my closing. comments, and then we will be gone from the Black News Network. But there's so many different things that you can talk about here about federal government and about what they need to do to improve where we're headed. And if we don't get an active role in what's going on in the federal government, we're going to lose hands down. Uh, do I hear somebody's television? I wonder where that came from. Anyway, moving right along. Moving right along. I want to just go back over a couple of little things before I sign off about Marco Rubio being the Secretary of State and him doing what he does to our country. And like I said, he was the first one to start talking about removing the diversity, equity, inclusion programs from the federal government. You know, and I'm sure it was because of our president. He did it. So with him doing that, it's not very much we're going to do sitting on the sideline. The second thing is this guy right here, the Secretary of Defense, Hudspeth. He's the one who had all these problems with the sexual assault, the alcohol, and the public misconduct. He's doing what he has to do in his position. So I don't want to dwell on these individuals, but I just want to highlight some people that work that's supposed to be working for us in the federal government. The next person I want you to know who is a problem is this guy right here, John F. Kennedy Jr., which he's in charge of Health and Human Services, and he's the one who had worms in his head, and he just is crazy as a Bessie bug, and he eliminated 16, 17 scientists that worked at the either the Health and Human Services somewhere in one of the departments, and he brought in his own scientists, people that believed and think like him. So, and then many of the people that were working there that he didn't relieve, they resigned. The doctors and the scientists, they left because of the sporadic and stupidity that he's bringing to the agency. Now, this one, I was looking for a picture where she was a wrestler and she was in the ring fighting with somebody. She's the wife of what's his name? The wrestler. I can't think of his name, but she's the McMahon. She's the wife of Mr. McMahon, who was the head of the WWE, and he does what he does. So I hear that I have an audio problem. I don't know what it is. I hope you can hear me. I think you should be able to, but if not, I'm sorry about that. Anyways, these are the people that run your country. And if we don't take an active role in what's happening with the community, the city, the state, and the federal government, it's really going to cost us in the long run. So I really recommend that we get actively involved in what's going on. And don't think you have to be voting on a federal level all the time or a state level. You can start with your local city council seat. You can start with your local committee that's in the working for the city. You can start anywhere. You can get in a committee anywhere. You can even get in a committee in your church if you want to. But the fact of the matter is, you should get involved in an organization that requires you to use civics. Civics is what will save us in this country. Understanding civics. We don't know civics. Many of us don't know civics. We know it in the back of our head, but we don't want to put it to the forefront and use it. There's a lot we can do if we were more familiar with civics. So I'm suggesting that you join agency. You can go join the library committee. You can join the YMCA and be on the board there. You can be on the board of anything that's public in your city. If it's open to the public, then that's a good thing. So I'm looking forward to you becoming more of a city engaged person, and then a local government engaged person, and then a state government engaged person, and ultimately the federal government. So we need to change some of these positions. People are even like, let's say, and all this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. This succession shit just drives me crazy. So just because you've been sitting in a seat for the last 25 years don't mean you're next in charge to be in charge. Because if you have no leadership skills and no desire and no initiative to be a real solid leader and with an agenda to make some improvements, you don't even need to be there. And that's what we've so entwined in right now, and trying to be respectful to other people and allowing this stuff to happen. And we're screwing up our systems. We're screwing up our agencies. We're screwing up our fraternities. We're screwing up everything because we are so stuck on stupid. So this is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA, broadcasting live every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. and daily on TikTok around noon. So please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to BNN 247. Go to the Facebook page and like or comment on Facebook. Just say something, or check something alike, or thank you, or I don't like situation. Say what you want to say. We can respond to that. So I'd be glad to hear from you at BNN 247. My name is War Smith, your host, and I am so glad that you have joined us today and listened to myself and Mr. Claude Foster. So thank you so much for being a part of BNN 247.